Hi there. Today I want to share with you 4 factors to help you decide if you should join a local startup or a global organization for your next career move. And on that, I want to thank W for asking this question. Okay, to be specific, I'm talking about you being in a very privileged position such that you have received 2 job offers of similar terms and conditions, which means to say the job titles from both offers are the same, salaries are the same, remit are the same. The only difference is the type of organization. So, factor number 1 to consider: which type of environment brings out the best version of you? Is it in a local startup? You would find that decisions are made quite quickly. You are visible to the management. The layers of reporting, it's quite few, and therefore you are able to witness the outcome of the actions that you have taken, the decisions that you have made within a very, very short time frame. And do you thrive best dabbling with local examples? And in fact, it puts your knowledge to the test as well, and you're able to see the impact. So for that kind of environment that would actually bring out the best in you, then I'll say go for it. Now, if not, then a global environment might be something more suitable because processes are already established. It's well structured. There could be many layers of reporting whereby decisions, and approvals take a little bit longer, but it doesn't really bother you. In fact, you look forward, to working with different kind of examples, and you would find people with similar roles to yourself, but they have slightly different remit, and on that you actually learn a little bit more about, for example, employment laws in Singapore, employment laws in Canada, employment laws in Korea, as contrast that with employment laws in Australia or New Zealand. That could give you a different scope to your job itself. It adds a lot of variety to your job. Then a global setup might be suitable. Okay, now factor number 2 is to look at the people you're likely to collaborate with. In a local startup, typically the people that you work with, the teams who report to you, as well as the stakeholders and clients that you serve, would have similar background to yourself. And therefore, maybe you feel very comfortable working in that sort of environment. And not only that, in fact, the reporting line seems to be a lot simpler as well. Perhaps there's only one direct manager who actually owns your headcount budget. Now, contrast that to a global setup whereby maybe you prefer to work with people of diverse background because you look forward to finding new ways to connect with them, finding innovative angle and approaches to influence them, to communicate with them using different languages, because you are curious about their work culture, their background, and whether you are able to find a way to connect and link. And so for that sort of environment, one thing for sure is that you need to be open to working and reporting to two different managers. One, your functional boss, and the other could be the one who owns the budget, or based on your geographical distance, you might have to report to someone who has no knowledge of what you are doing in your functional role itself. So we call that matrix reporting lines. Now, hopefully those 2 actually help you to decide which way are you going to swing towards. If not, then maybe the 3rd factor might help you. The 3rd one is with regards to your career goal. Based on the job that you're going to move into, how does that help you to plug the gaps in order to move you closer to where you want to go? One could be acquiring new skills. If you are in a state whereby you need to bring on new skills to the plate, then you need to understand 70-20-10. What 70% means is, in order to learn something new, 70% can come from learning on the job, experiential learning. For example, if we want to learn how to cycle, maybe we just need to hop onto the bike and cycle. Naturally, we can't do it right from the start. And that's where 20% comes in. 20% could come in from observing how others have done it. And this could be done through watching videos, watching a live demonstration of somebody doing it, and maybe even, going through a structured learning environment. And that would be the last 10%. All right. So the last 10% could be reading from books, self-learning without observing from others. So that's the 70-20-10. Now, in a startup environment, typically you would find that most of the learning comes from doing the job itself. So which means 70% comes in first, then come 20% and 10%. May not be in that very restricted manner, maybe it's a mash of all, but you can expect more of the 70% happening as you go along in your job. Contrast that with a global organization where you may have the option to explore 10% first, then proceed to 20, then proceed to 70. Now, I'm only saying that to show you the differences between joining a local startup versus joining a global organization. All these only point to you having to ask the question to your potential hiring organization on how learning is actually being introduced depending on the exigencies of the role that you have applied to. So the approach itself is different. Or perhaps you might say that, no, acquiring new skills is not what I'm after. Growing in my role is not really what I'm after. In fact, I'm looking for a role that allows me to apply what I already know, what I already have. So in which case, perhaps a local setup might be useful, because startup entrepreneurs will welcome people with your kind of caliber and your kind of skills who cannot wait for the rubber to hit the road in order to see the results immediately. Now, that's not to say that in a global role, you're not going to get that either. You can get that, but maybe in a global role, you're looking towards something else, right? Maybe you're looking towards a management role. A management role whereby you can climb the ladder, and in a global setup, based on its sheer size of the workforce, you would have sufficient numbers to form the layers of reporting that will provide you ample opportunities to explore that route. Or maybe you are saying that I've got the requisite knowledge and I really want to go very, very narrow and very, very deep to specialize in my function. Then perhaps a global organization might be more suitable. Now, in a startup environment, roles tend to be a lot more lean, and that means that we find a lot of occurrence of combination roles. What do I mean? Example, sales and marketing, or sales, marketing, and business development, or sales, marketing, business development, and customer service. Combination of role. On the HR side, it could be, finance, HR, and administration. That could also be one combination that we typically see. Sometimes HR can be parked under different functions as well, depending on the number of bodies we have, number of employees you have in the setup, and the size of the setup does matter as well. But as time go by, you would also notice that, as we go regional, as we go digital, the size of teams, the nature of the work, sometimes the lines between a local setup and also a global organization may blur a little. Then maybe the fourth factor might be something you want to consider. In order to stay agile in your career, in order to remain mobile in your career, look back into your career profile. Make it a lot more robust by introducing diversity into your career history. So let's say in the past you have been pretty much concentrated on local, setup and organizations, then take on the global role as your next career move so that you add a different dimension to it. Now, and vice versa. So if in the past you have been working in global role, it makes sense to move into a local setup because you're going to be seeing two ends of the spectrum, and that would actually broaden your mind, broaden your skill set, and broaden your experiences, and all this become very good career stories to share with your future employers. So think 222, which means establish in your career profile that you have worked across two different industries, hopefully, two different roles, and two different companies, or maybe even two different geographies. And what I mean is two different countries of work. Perhaps you're based in Singapore, perhaps you have been based in Indonesia, in China, in Malaysia. All this does help to show and demonstrate to your future employer that you are nimble, you are agile, and you are able to adapt to whatever role that comes next to you. Okay, now if you want to hear some live examples on the merits of joining a local setup, then join us next Monday as we bring on an employer, our live employer interview. The link to join will be included in the description below. All right. And so on that note, I hope you find this video useful, that you are able to decide on whether to join a local startup or a global organization. Then remember to hit the subscribe button and also to click like. Until the next episode, I wish you a very good Friday and also a pleasant weekend ahead. Cheers!